Okay, I want to show you a chalk pastel insect, and what I did was I looked in an insect drawing book and I found this Luna moth, and I drew it large on the paper. You want your object or your subject to take up the entire page, because when we get ready to outline, we're outlining not with Sharpie, we're outlining with glue. So this I drew in a white pencil because I knew if I drew with a regular pencil, you were not going to be able to see that on this paper. So if I draw lines here now, you're not going to be able to see that. So that's why I had to do it in white so it would show up on the camera. Otherwise, I normally will do it with just a regular pencil. Now, once you figure out what you're drawing, you basically just take a glue bottle and you draw right on top like you're tracing with a Sharpie, but you're tracing with glue. Now, moth, I don't know if you realize this or not, but they have really fuzzy, fluffy looking antenna. Butterflies don't, so that's kind of how you can tell the difference between a moth and a butterfly. They'll have these real fluffy, furry looking antenna on them. But you want to make sure when you're drawing with glue, you're touching it all the way down. So you have to touch to draw. And then you want to make sure you're not pushing the bottle, that you are pulling it away from the glue coming out. Because if you push through it, you'll see what happens. It draws a line through it, which is really kind of a mess. So you want to make sure you're always going away from the glue. You might have to turn your paper, and you may have to adjust the way you're going with your arm. So like that, it might be easier just to pull it across straight towards me. And then the same thing with the wings. You know, you outline all of your pencil lines, and then once this is all outlined with glue, it goes on the drying rack for the day, okay? Now, the other thing is, when you get it back the second week, you get a bowl of these chalk pastels, okay? So I've already got this one started. It's been outlined with glue. Hopefully you can kind of see the outline. It dries clear, which is why I didn't like drawing with the white on the last picture, but you know, I didn't have a choice being on black paper. But anyway, you won't see your pencil line showing through the glue that way. Now, chalk pastels are very messy. You need to have a washcloth nearby. These are very brilliant colors, and they mix beautifully. So if I take just a little bit, you don't have to color even very hard, but if you just take a little bit of this and kind of rub it in, and then you take an analogous color. Analogous means what? Anybody out there know what analogous means? Analogous means that they are next to each other on the color wheel. So blue is next to purple, or blue is next to green. You could pick either one and it would mix with blue just perfectly, like beautifully. You could also pick another shade of blue, like if you did light blue, then you could pick a dark blue to mix it with. That would also work. Just because, well, they're two blues, they're not going to mess each other up. If they were not analogous and they were like across from each other on the color wheel, they tend to kind of just turn into like mud when you try to mix them a little bit. So you can see why I'm just taking my finger now, and I want that to be a little more of the light blue in there, and then I'll mix more of the dark blue back on again. But anyway, I'm just rubbing it lightly with my finger. It's going to get it real messy, so that's why you need to have your washcloth nearby to wipe it off. But you can mix these really awesome. They look beautiful, especially when they're done, because they're such bright colors. They're like those oil pastels. They're just chalk. Okay. All right. So I'm making mine symmetrical because it's a butterfly. This one is anyway. I'm doing the wings the same. So when I get done with that side, I'm going to be using these same two colors over here. So that's why I didn't put them away yet. And I'm not done with this wing, but you just color it in. Now, I've also done other things with the chalk pastel and the glue on the black paper. You could also make it a landscape. So let me grab the landscape here. Instead of a butterfly or an insect, I drew a line for the ground, then a line for the stream, then a line for some more grass, then I added some hills, some trees, and then some mountains. So I really pushed it back into the picture more and more and more land, not just one line for the lands. That's one of them, and that's been colored with chalk pastel after the glue was dry the second day. This one's the same thing, just a little different. I decided to do the water at the bottom. I also did some grass in between, added a little more water, some rolling hills, some beautiful mountains, and then sort of a sunset at the top. And then this last one, is the same thing too, just a different landscape. There's others on the bulletin board over there right now on display in the art room. You can look at those. I also think like a colorful fish drawn really large would be cool. I almost did that instead for the demonstration, but I just already had the bugs started. And so I thought, well, I just need to go ahead and finish what I've started because I wanted to change my mind. But again, I already started this. I didn't want to waste the paper and the time that I already spent doing this instead of the other. So maybe I'll get to do a fish next time. Okay. Anyway, that's really it. Like basically you draw it one day large on your paper to touch all 4 sides, let it dry on the drying rack, and then the next day you come back and you start to color them in. And that's it.